The Syrian border has been heating up in recent days, and despite the incidents, Middle East expert Amotz Asa-El told ILTV's Steve Leibowitz that Israel is not aware of any coordinated effort from the terrorists or the Syrian army to change the status quo.
What happened on the Golan Heights when an IDF patrol was attacked by an ISIS squadron and responded swiftly, immediately returning fire and deploying some kind of an aerial weapon, the aftermath of which was 4 dead ISIS fighters and fortunately no one hurt on the Israeli side. All this was on the margins of the broad Syrian arena. We're unaware, we in the media, are unaware of a sizable and organized anti-Israeli effort coalescing on the Syrian side of the Golan Heights. This is one thing. In Syria proper, in other words, in the central part of Syria, Israel occasionally, reportedly detects convoys of what is called in Israel tie-breaking weapons, making their way from outside of Syria to Hezbollah camps and warehouses. And those, from an Israeli viewpoint, are intolerable because they're strategic threats, and the Israeli Air Force reportedly targets them and reportedly did that the other day. This is broader and more meaningful. All of this together combined is part of the big anarchy that is possessing Syria in the wake of its civil war.
Is it a problem for Israel and for its Air Force to operate now in Syria because of the presence of the Russian Air Force? I understand that Israel actually fired the rockets that it fired not from Syrian airspace when we attacked Hezbollah last week, but we attacked them from Lebanese airspace so as to avoid any possibility of a clash with Russian forces.
Well, IDF sources actually claim that the aircraft's location outside of Syrian territory was a function not of the geopolitics that is taking place there right now, but of the mechanics of the specific weapons that were used, which reportedly require a longer distance between the aircraft and its target. That is why they ended up positioned above Lebanon rather than above Syria, according to what Israeli Air Force sources explain. Having said this, the Russian presence does indeed make the Israeli Air Force's operations more complex than they previously were. But then again, under the previous conditions, Israel faced in Syria a very sizable Syrian Air Force that was not busy fighting its own war as it is now. So things were not that simple in the past either. And above that, there is between Israel and Russia a very orderly and formal and cordial and even warm collaboration or cooperation in the context of their separate air forces operation in the same arena. So this is not simple. But then again, it is not too complex for either of the parties to properly manage.
There's reports that Aleppo is close to being overrun or being recaptured by Syrian government forces. Certainly that would be a major blow to the rebels. There's a horrible civilian toll as well, of course, that goes along with this current fighting. Is the Syrian army finally getting the upper hand to the point that this civil war could be won?
The major blow to the rebels came a year ago when the Russians entered the fighting. Previously, they were supplying Assad, but they did not actively participate in his fighting. They did that last fall, and it's now a year. And we can say in a year's hindsight that, curiously enough, while the Russian intervention sufficed to turn the tide in Assad's favor, it did not suffice to decide the war. And what is now at stake, as you suggest, is indeed the decision of the battle for Aleppo. That too has yet to actually transpire and be established. But things do seem to be going there more in Assad's direction. However, in terms of the broader scheme of things, in terms of winning the war itself, Aleppo will not deliver that victory. What Aleppo will deliver Assad, if indeed conquers it is Western Syria. In Western Syria, he is indeed entrenched. That is where his Alawite minority is centered. And what he would like at this point of his situation is, first of all, to establish his grip not only on the coast where he is well established, but just east of there, along the axis that begins in Aleppo in the north, runs through Hama and Homs, and goes south to Damascus, and then finally to the Jordanian border. This is the Western Syria where he needs to consolidate his presence in order to secure his future as part of post-war Syria. But post-war Syria will not be pre-war Syria. He will not be able to reassemble the pieces that have broken down in his hands. His father's estate has been shattered, and there will be a different Syria emerging from it once the war is over.
Amotz Asa-El, thanks so much for being with us at ILTV.
Thank you, Steve.